where am I feeling my anxiety? That's a big one.
Ooh, yes.
Right. When we talk about like a body scan. So in meditation, when you're going through the basics, you're learning the very beginning of it, they always encourage you, take 5 minutes, just do a body scan. Start from your toes. Think about your toes, something that lots of us don't do, right? On a daily. Like,
Right.
hey, have you thought about your toes today? Yeah. What drugs are we on? So it's the body scan of, okay, start thinking about your toes, go up through your ankles and calves. So you do a whole body scan to start getting you into a space of mindfulness about your own body. With our teacups.
Hello, and welcome to Situaseans podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Williams, aka Shawnee Do. You can call me Sean, Shawnee Do. Does not matter to me. I'm just glad that y'all are all here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, I just want you guys to know that I am so excited today because I got a special guest right here. This lovely lady. Who is she? Well, I want you all to find out. Y'all are in for a whole nother treat. So my very special guest today, she's going to help me unpack all the good content today, right?
Woo, of course. That's what I'm here for.
So my special guest, she is a choreographer, director, mindfulness and accountability coach. She's a content creator, a nanny,
Woo!
A lover of all things salty.
Yes.
Everybody, please give a big warm welcome to my guest, Brenda Perez de Tejada.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Obviously, always just gratitude for you and for you sharing your messages out into the world. Always needed. We love that. But yeah, thank you for having me. Here I am.
Yeah, I'm glad we can make this happen. I'm just so excited today because, the topic of today, talking about mindfulness, meditation, how that all translates into life and the things that we do. It is so important, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah, it affects every single thing that we do, and it allows us to either grow or stay stuck in our patterns. So yeah, I'm glad that we're able to get this message out today.
Yes. I'm just so excited today also because this is episode 10. Like, I made it to 10 episodes.
Woo! Cheers. Cheers with your little get your tea out.
There
Cheers.
Cheers. Ooh, yes. Episode 10. I'm just like so ecstatic because it's not easy putting things like this together and just, staying, consistent.
Right.
Trying to make sure that you have everything that you need for each episode.
Correct. It's a lot of work to put it together and to stay consistent after you realize how much work it actually takes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
congrats to you.
Thank you. And the fact that we're both like artists, I mean, we're all doing like a million things.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
I think it's because we like to create.
Yeah.
And so when a project ends, we're like, what else can we sink our teeth into? And then it's like 4 or 5 projects that we end up wanting to create. And then we can't say no sometimes, so.
Exactly.
That's hard.
The artist
But
life.
you did it. You got here. 10 episodes.
Right? So thank you all for helping me get to 10 episodes. Don't forget to subscribe. We are on YouTube, youtube.com/@situationspod. Go follow us on social media. You all know the drill. You can find the info in the show notes. Follow, subscribe. And I always got to make a very special shout out to my Patreon supporters.
Yes.
So I got a couple people on Patreon. I'm trying to get more. Brenda, I need you to tell people to sign up for the Patreon.
Everybody, come on out. Right? Whenever we have creators who are putting good content into this world, please make sure, where am I looking? I'm going to look right here.
Yeah, that's
Please
good.
make sure that you support them in any way that you can. And $2, $5, that little amount always ends up adding up so quickly. And it just helps kind of clear the mental clutter that we have about worrying about wanting to create some projects. So the little bit always helps. So please support all the good content and good messages that are going to shape the world and shape the mindsets of the rest of the humans to come.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. And, also, I just want to let you guys know that today's episode, so you all by now should know the format of this podcast. We talk about dating, relationships, mental and emotional life experiences. We all are just trying to be our best. We all are working on ourselves. As long as we continue to do that, the sky's the limit. Not even the sky's the limit.
No, we can break through those clouds, get into other universes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we got a listener submission, as you all know, and today's listener submission is actually talking about living in Chicago or just city living and where not to live. So we're going to unpack that as well. If you all have anything that you're going through, if you have a question, dating question, anything at all, just literally go to situationspodcast.com/submit and submit. Every time you all submit, it's a drop of love on my heart. So submit. Trip.
I love it. Just fill up his heart, everybody. It's time. Fill it up.
Yes.
Get those questions in.
So, I'm just so glad that you are finally here. We got this all going. Thank you so much for, coming onto the show. Thankful. I want to kind of let the audience in on how we know each other.
Yeah, let's tell them. Let's tell our story.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start it, and we'll just bounce back and forth. Yeah. So I am a choreographer, and you know this. I choreographed Music Man at Little Mountain Theater last summer. Yeah, shout out Little Mountain. And it was so wonderful because I got to meet Sean, everybody who's listening. I got to meet Sean because he ended up playing Marcellus in Music Man. And I got to teach him some moves, got to give him some notes about some things within the character, within the show. And it was a beautiful show. And I'm just grateful for all of the friendships, all of the connections that every single year come out of working on that summer project. It is one of my favorite things to do all year. And I'm so glad that this is where it led to.
Right?
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. Likewise. I'm just glad that I met you and your energy, your aura, your motivation, everything that you do, you just bring such positivity. And I think that just really resonated with me from day one.
Yes. Good.
I remember when we were doing the dance auditions and just how, positive you were and encouraging.
Sweaty. How sweaty I was. It's just sweaty mess at auditions all the time. Yeah.
And me, I am no trained dancer, none whatsoever. But, if I'm giving choreography, it'll take me a couple times to kind of fuck it up before now I get it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were just so cool and just helping us all during that dance audition, I was all right, I gotta be friends with her. She's a real one.
Yeah, exactly. No, it is. It's so fun. Yeah. It's so fun to be at auditions too, because if anyone's out there not in the theater world, auditions are one of the scariest things for actors, but we tend to quote unquote get used to them. But do we ever actually there's still that nervousness because we want to be a part of that project. So then we're excited, and so then it turns into nerves. So my goal as a choreographer, being part of a production team, is to make people feel as comfortable, as happy, as joyful within that experience to help ease at least some of the nerves. That is a huge intention that I actually set before I go into teaching any audition combinations.
That's amazing.
I'm glad you got that. Yeah. Intention, check.
Right?
Yeah, accomplished. Rock and roll.
Well, I hope I end up, doing another show with you soon.
I know. Make it happen. We do. We'll figure it out.
Right? We will figure it out. So also I kind of want, to kind of get the audience to know more about Brenda. So tell me about your expertise, your certifications. How did you come to be a mindfulness coach and, a director, choreography? Tell me about it all.
Okay. We could be here for easily 3 days if I talked about my entire story. So I will make it kind of concise and fun as best I can.
All right.
So I grew up dancing my entire life. I am from Mexico City, and I grew up there. I was born there. I moved to Texas when I was little, and I danced throughout in Mexico. I danced in Texas. Then we moved to Illinois, and I danced here. And I went to college at Elmhurst University. It was Elmhurst College back then, but they've now changed it to Elmhurst University. And I graduated with my bachelor's in musical theater and did Spanish education as well, and did dance choreography and direction minors. So just kind of a plethora of things while I was studying in school. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to make sure that because I love teaching. Teaching is in my bones. It allows me to become a better person. Every time I teach someone, when I see the light bulbs go off, I think I know that I'm aligned with my purpose. And so, so I wanted to do that in college. Did the performing thing. Once I graduated out of college, I performed for 4 years and with a dance company called Dance Spectacular Productions, and we toured around and I got to travel, which was awesome, and I got to dance lots of different stages, and that was awesome, but I definitely wasn't able to teach as much as I wanted. And in that space, I realized I really wanted to get back into musical theater and being on stage. They're doing a full show. So I got out of there, and then I started auditioning again at the height of COVID. So throughout that, though, it's kind of a wild time because I was all over the place. I was doing that production company. I still was working for 2 dance studios. Wow. On top of that, I never ended up teaching Spanish because I was traveling and performing and doing stuff at the secondary level, but I wanted to. There was a part of me that wanted to do that. And so I was teaching at studios, doing this dance production company. And I was also started choreographing. That's when right out of college, I choreographed my first production in 2015, Next to Normal. Obviously, Next to Normal, if anyone knows the show, it's a really small show, small ensemble, and very little dancing, but the movement has to be really intentional. And I started with that. And from there, I started getting hired to choreograph at different theaters, at different high schools, and then started getting asked to direct as well. And I found that throughout all of my choreography journey, being a choreographer and being right there with one aspect of the production, I quickly realized that I wanted my energy to affect an entire production. So when the opportunity came up for me to direct, I said, let's take it. It's scary as fuck, but let's go for it. So that kind of led me to directing, and that's kind of my choreography background now. And I've choreographed / directed over 38 shows in the past. Yeah,
okay.
It's wild.
Get it, girl.
If anyone looks at my entire kitchen, there's one big cupboard full of binders, just binders for shows. So lots of dancing, and I am so grateful for it. Yeah. And then how I got into my mindfulness and accountability coaching, and how I kind of started my social media in general and started content creating, was led by the pandemic. The pandemic brought me to a space of saying, I don't want to teach in a studio anymore. Mm-hmm. I want to do my own thing. I want freedom. I want to be able to go whenever I want to go. That was super important to me. And so I quit my studios and I said, I'm going to try and do this on my own. So I created my business, my dance business, which is Conscious Choreo Co. So it just kind of encompasses everything. So it is for people who want private lessons, if they're going to go into an audition or something, and we can do private lessons. I do private group lessons. I do wedding choreography. I do event choreography. So if anyone's trying to do a flash mob of some sort, I do, and with weddings, we do father-daughter, mother-son, mother-daughter, or father-son, whatever you want, whatever combination of humans you want to put together to dance is my vibe. I do teaching at weddings now too, which is super fun. During cocktail hour, I'll teach like a salsa or a swing class to get the folks dancing. And then within that umbrella came my like grand awakening. Backstory, was in a relationship for 10 and a half years. I'm very open about this. I was married and divorced. And so when that shit hit the fan, I dove into mindfulness and affirmations and anything that I could to pull myself out of the ground because I was a mess. Yeah. And through that, I went to a couple women's retreats, and those women's retreats led me to my first coach. So my first meditation and mindfulness coach. So through that coaching, it was a 6-month course, and her name is Sandy Vo. She is phenomenal. If anyone's looking for deep meditative healing, and oh my gosh, search for her, Sandy Vo. She just had a baby. Congrats, Sandy. Oh, wow, congrats, Sandy. Yes, she's incredible. She was my coach for 6 months. Before that, I had another coach, Andrea, who's also incredible, yogi who travels the world, just like leading with love and teaching mindful movement all over. So I learned from her first, and then moved into a certification with Sandy. And it was a really beautiful container where we just got to unpack a lot of my blocks. And yeah, and a lot of the things that I had never thought to think about. I never thought that they were in my way when it comes to dating, when it comes to the opportunities that lie ahead for me. And with her, I learned everything. I learned everything from different types of meditation, from different techniques for mindfulness, different breathing techniques, a lot of Ayurvedic understandings just of the body and of what yoga actually means, right? So yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful time. So now that all of that certification led me to create my 6-week accountability coaching and mindfulness program. Wow. So I work one-on-one when I'm feeling aligned in my energy. I work one-on-one with human beings who want an accountability coach, someone to say, hey, did you drink your 6 cups of water today? We come together. They already have goals in mind. I'm not a life coach. A lot of life coaches will help you understand what your purpose is. People come to me already feeling like they have a purpose, they have a goal, they just need help getting there and help with their energy. How can we get your energy to be in a better space for what you want? So we work mind, body, spirit things, and it's different for everyone, but I make a plan, and we go 2 weeks by 2 weeks in changing the plan just as we need to. And it's a really beautiful space. I get to really be a part of someone's life even if it's for 6 weeks. Absolutely. I see such a change and they feel such a change, and that's enough. Like that, it fills my spirit. However, I need to be in a really aligned space myself to be coaching. So I've coached over about 30, 20, I think 28 people, if I'm thinking correctly. 28 people in the past 2 years, 2.5. Yeah, that's accurate. And really only when I'm feeling called to. So if anyone is, I'm back in a space where I think I'm there. So if anyone is interested, holler at your girl. I'm here. Wow, that's a lot. Oh my gosh, here I am.
No. Like, I love that. And honestly, and of course, we're going to drop all of your info in the show notes so everyone can go find you.
Yeah, go find me.
Connect with you. That's amazing. Like, that's so inspiring. Like, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah, as a divorcee myself.
Yes.
I totally get that. I was married for 2 years, 2016, and then divorced in 2018.
Wait, my exact timeline.
What?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, wild. Yeah. Yup.
And like to make a very long story short, she cheated on me like a month or two before the wedding, but we knew each other about 5-6 years prior, and my kind of train of thought was, well, our family is close. Like we paid for like the wedding and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I could just learn to like forgive.
Right.
And just couldn't.
Yeah. No, that's super real.
Yeah.
It is. It's something that there's so much healing that has to happen on both parties and so much trust that has to get rebuilt.
Yeah.
And that's where it's tough. And sometimes it isn't meant to be. Sometimes it was meant to be done when it was meant to be done. But then we force ourselves to just kind of push through with it.
Exactly.
Societal standards, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of want to jump into like mindfulness, meditation, motivations, ambitions, self-love, and how these, things are so important, like in your personal life and how positive energy, can help you be the best version of yourself. So let's talk about that. Like, what do you like, how can one apply that to their own life? Like, where do you start?
Where do you start? You know what? You start by being really honest with yourself. I think that is kind of the first place whenever someone's coming to me for advice about anything, my friends, a client of mine, a student of mine, whoever it is, I encourage everyone to sit down, close your eyes. My biggest piece of advice is always sit in quiet, sit in still. Be still for a moment because answers are in us already. There are so many answers within us, but everything is so loud, so chattery, so constant that we don't take enough time to allow the answers to come out because we don't allow ourselves to sit in silence and sit in stillness. It's not even silence. We just need to be still. So step one, I think, is really sit in stillness for a bit and see what comes up. See what thoughts, what patterns, what judgmental thoughts of yourself, of other people come up in those moments, and do your best to not judge them. Allow yourself to just observe them. And from those observations, later you start seeing patterns within your thoughts and within your judgments. And then from that moment, you can say, okay, is this serving me or is this hurting me?
Right.
And that's where you start saying, oh, is me waking up at 1 p.m. every day? Is this a great habit? Is this me showing me love? Or am I kind of avoiding everything in my life right now?
Right,
so
right.
that is truly the simplest way to start is observe your patterns, observe what you're doing and what you're thinking, and then decide whether it's helping you or hindering you. If it's hindering you, then we change.
Yeah.
Then we say, okay, so what are options? What are our options to change this behavior, to change this mentality? What can we do? And then that's when you start getting into mindfulness tools,
Yeah.
It's like a perfect little segue to saying, okay, what do I do now? Now that I'm observing who I am, and maybe you also get really clear about your intention of what you want out of your life. And that feels drastic. Sometimes that feels daunting. So then separate it into little categories. What do you want out of your love life? What do you want out of your career? What do you want out of the relationships with your family and out of your friendships? And where do you want to travel? And get really clear in all different aspects of your life. And I swear all of those little pieces of clarity start making this huge puzzle board of just like beauty that is you. That is just, you are the person. You finally understand who you are and why you do the things that you do, right? So once you get clear about all of that, and then you start noticing the patterns that are stopping you from getting to those places, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, what do I need? Do I need therapy? Should I start going to therapy? Do I need a life coach? Do I need to move my body more? Do I have a lot of excess energy just like all welt up in my body that I'm carrying that's heavy? Do I know how to breathe? Do I need to tap into meditation more? Am I aware of my body? Where am I feeling my anxiety? That's a big one.
Ooh, yes.
Right. When we talk about self, like a body scan. So in meditation, when you're going through the basics, you're learning the very beginning of it, they always encourage you, take 5 minutes, just do a body scan. Start from your toes, think about your toes, something that lots of us don't do, right? On a daily. Like,
Right.
hey, have you thought about your toes today? Yeah. What drugs are we on? So it's the body scan of, okay, start thinking about your toes, go up through your ankles and calves. So you do a whole body scan to start getting you into a space of mindfulness about your own body. Once you get more familiar with that, your body tells you everything. Your energy of your body, you start holding energy. You start realizing that you hold energy in different places. Knots and tension it's all built up energy, right? I mean, scientifically, it literally is your energy all like interlaced and getting all kind of crazy up in there, like in a ball. It's energy that it's not released. So realize what's going on in your body and then start kind of tapping into those areas so that you can at least, even if your mind is still feeling jumbled, at least your body can be the step one to kind of clearing your energy out and releasing the tension. So, wow, I just went everywhere. But those are kind of some steps.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like that, like that's definitely a good starting point. And like, and just to like, plug again, go into Plug City, it starts with Brenda. Like, see, Brenda, if you are going through something, you want like mindfulness, like she is trained in this.
Yes.
Like, this is your like realm.
This is I could speak about this for ages and ages. I actually a plug for myself. I was telling you earlier, I had a podcast myself called Mindfulness. Just mindful months with Brenda. It shifted into mindful memories, moments, and mindsets with Brenda, where I do talk about just different parts of our lives, like judgment, self-judgment, self-love. And I just kind of break it down of my own experiences and how I've had to use different tools to really shape and shift the way that I fit into those like schemas of ideas. Yeah. So if anyone's curious, but please come to me. Oh yeah. It's everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, but I'll send you the link.
Okay. And we'll drop that link in the show notes as well. Like you all are getting so much like golden nuggets. Like
yes.
Episode 10, let's fucking go.
Let's go. We're here. We're here for the win.
Yes.
We're here to here's the thing, is that we're here to make this fucking earth a better place. Like, and it starts with us. Mm-hmm. I know it can feel so overwhelming, right? It feels so overwhelming sometimes when the world is on fire, literally. But the thing is, we created it, so we're the ones who have to stop it and change it.
Exactly.
Right? So, and that starts at the individual level. The more human beings that are mindful, that are aware of their energy, the more that energy seeps out onto other people. And this idea of positivity, a literal energy that we can scientifically kind of like see differently. Like we can see when positive energy versus negative energy, right? That's like a scientific thing that scientists. I'm not a scientist. I just know that there's a thing that we can see, that they can measure when vibrations are higher and when vibrations are lower, and the effects of the lower vibrations on the earth. And the effects of the higher vibrations on the earth. Like those are all things that have been absolutely like dove into by scientists. So it's just wild to me. Like, that idea of telling your plants that you love them and like telling them nice things. Yeah. It makes them grow better.
I've heard about doing that. Like, is that real?
It's absolutely real. Yes. What? Okay. I will say I don't have plants. However, most of my friends are plant girlies. They love their plants, plant mamas. And they noticed the biggest shift. I told them, I said, you have to start doing this. I just need you to. And they did it. And they have like gardens and forests in their homes now. And it's just, again, I don't know. It's just a vibration thing. And you know it. Like when you enter a room that the vibes are low, the energy's just like low, and you're like, whoa.
Right. It's like,
what's happening?
Where am I? Why do I feel drained in this space?
Why do I feel drained in this space? Yeah. So that's why it's important to bring it back to ourselves. It starts with us. It does. Why we're here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So kind of like, touching on top of that. Now, the things that we do and say, and especially our words and like our actions, like, and our energies, like that affects the people around us, right? So it's kind of like, okay, how do we do like those self check-ins to be like, okay, am I self-aware about how I'm coming off to this person in this space? Am I doing the work to make sure that I'm not projecting anything that's going on outside of whatever this situation is? I'm not projecting it onto that person.
Right.
Tell me, like, is there like a certain way that someone can kind of like take a pause in that moment before, or even kind of like, I don't know, like think before like they act?
Think before they act. Isn't that what they've taught us since like kindergarten? Like, think before you speak.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. But it's not something that was consistently practiced, growing up. It's not something that was consistently talked about. It was more of like you were just scolded if you did the wrong thing, not, hey, how can we do that? How can we do that in a better way, in a more productive way?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I think the moment that you dive into mindfulness, it's a black hole of everything. Yeah. You start picking apart every part of your life, which actually can get a little dicey. It can feel, and I am absolutely someone who went through it, was this idea of all of a sudden, I'm taking radical responsibility over everything that I've caused, over all the quote unquote damage. I believe everything happens for a reason, but all of the not so nice parts of myself that came out onto other people. And so you look at that and you start thinking, oh my gosh, everything I've done is wrong, right? Or it just hasn't been helpful. And you can go down this black hole of being really angry with yourself and like not gracious with yourself and not forgiving of yourself. So that is also something I want to say in this journey of mindfulness, when you go down to dive deep into what makes you you and how you're going to react to people, please be gracious with yourself, because you did your best with what you knew.
Right.
And no one is perfect. And the only thing that matters is that you make different choices moving forward. And absolutely. Right. And and so speaking of this idea of how this journey affects others, it's exactly that. It's all of a sudden when you're in this mindful space and this beautiful self-awareness, you go into these rooms and you're talking to people while being so aware of your body language. In a way that's not you being obsessed with yourself. Oh my gosh, this could go everywhere. But in a way that's just very like, ooh, this person needs me to be open right now. So my body language, I'm going to make sure that my body language is open so that they know that they're safe and that I hear them and that this conversation is going to be really productive. So it's like it just ends up affecting all of the conversations you have. It affects just how you show up in the world, and it'll shift your relationships, which can be scary because the more you know yourself, the more authentic you become, the more that sometimes those vibes don't match other people's vibes who maybe you've known your entire life. And that's when you have to start navigating just living in your truth and knowing that if that's authentically your truth, it's okay that people come and go. Right. And it can be done in a super peaceful way. We don't need to be immature assholes and like, I'm done with this person, I'm cutting them off. Like that is so unhealthy for all parties. It just drains your energy.
It does.
Right.
It does, yeah.
And so I think it's just, when you take responsibility for your own self and you become this incredible version, like the most incredible version of you, and you're striving to always be that, you also start attracting those people too who also are doing the work. Yeah. And I guess then comes in the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is so real. And the moment that you step into it, you can't unsee it. You start realizing the groups of people that attract certain groups of people and the groups of other people who attract certain groups of people, you know? And sometimes it can be a little bit of a lonely road for a moment because you're trying to unknow and undo all the things that you had done in your past, right? And move away from it into an unknown space. Right. Yeah. Just like free falling. But it's so worth it.
It is.
Because then you meet people that are exactly in the space that you are at or around it. And all that it is growth, 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 like in between the two of you or multiple people. So it's fantastic.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It affects everything. It affects your relationships big time. And like dating, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. How about you? Like, is your thinking about in this journey of self-awareness and mindfulness, like, has that shifted your dating life? Has that shifted your friendships, your family relationships? Like, what has that done?
Yeah. So that's definitely affected my dating life and like my relationship life heavily because, like I come from, like my childhood was like just fucked up for like lack of terms.
Fair.
So I grew up on the South Side in Inglewood. Never really had a relationship with my biological father. Him and my mom split when I was like 3.
Yeah.
So he was like never really present in my life.
Yeah.
But then like, when I was like 3 or 4, my mom met my stepdad, and like a lot of people on the block call him Flanders because like, he acts like Ned Flanders all diddly.
Oh yeah.
But behind closed doors, he's like the opposite. Like very few people know that he's like he's not even a Flanders. He's like, just a very toxic, type of person. So he was abused by his stepdad, and so he kind of just repeated the cycle. And we would argue all the time, every single day, and we were like throwing hands. And so it just got to a point where it was like when I was like 17, I just left because I was like, I can't keep putting up with this negative energy and like this like negative talk, because he would just say like the most like craziest or just threatening things. And he'll say like example, like, I don't know, like let's say if I, came home and, I didn't like do the dishes or do some type of chores, he would just take it to like the max extreme. Oh, you didn't wash the dishes or you didn't do this. You know what? Well, yeah, you should be lucky that you're even sleeping in this house because motherfucker, I'll put your ass out any fucking day. Like stuff like that. Or he'd be like, or
just aggression,
just very aggressive. He would just go to like from 1 to 10, just like that. Or he would be like, you better sleep with both eyes open or I'll
just threatening.
Just kind of just.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, putting you in a constant state of fear.
Yeah. And it wasn't until like I was like maybe about 12 or 13 that I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna just, all right.
Right.
I'm
Let's go. Yeah.
So, when I left home and when I started, so like my senior year of high school, yes, I was 17 years. So senior year of high school, I was just house hopping a lot and just sleeping on different friends' couches. Yeah. I was sleeping on park benches for like a whole month and a half, homeless for a little bit, like senior year of high school. So I just had like all my bags of clothes just like on the park bench, like washing my clothes in the water. Oh my goodness, and like I've talked a little bit about this on like previous episodes as well. To like some of the folks that are repeat listeners, they kind of know
the backstory.
Yeah, and so but. So when I went to college, I went to Columbia College, Hollywood in California before I finished up at Columbia College, Chicago. Okay. When I left for California and just kind of was just on my own, I think like it gave me the perfect opportunity to just clear my mind. Yes. What is it that I want to be in life? Like I don't have that negativity from, back home. My life can be whatever it is that I want it to be. Right. And even throughout high school and just grade school, I would never really, start shit with people, but there were like a few instances where people were just like,
totally. You're like, all right, you want to go there? Listen, I grew up where I grew up. You don't know this, but here I come. Yeah.
So but I definitely think that just by living on my own and just being on my own, like definitely like helped me clear my mind and just know what, like this is the person that I'm going to be, and I'm going to be better than what my stepdad was and better than what my biological father was. And I'm hoping that one day when I become a dad, I'll be able to kind of pass on positive values, pass on, so many life lessons that, that I had to learn myself, so onto them. So, yeah.
Heal that generational trauma. That's what we're all here to do.
Exactly.
Our caregivers, our caretakers, like they did the best with what they knew, and we have to release it as much as we can so that we don't bring that into the next generation.
Exactly. Yeah. So as far as like the dating aspect of my life,
how has it affected? How has all this new knowledge, new growth affected it?
Right. Yeah. So after like my divorce, I did a lot of soul searching within like myself, because I found that in that marriage, only stayed because like I was mostly just trying to like please her and her family. And like, again, right? I was a people pleaser.
No, that's okay. That was my ex probably too. Oh, it's a whole thing. Okay.
It took me a while to be like, you know what? Like, I can't keep everybody happy. Like, what about my happiness?
Yes.
And so after that divorce, I was on dating apps, like the later half of 2018, and then 2020 I met somebody, and then we were official for like a year and a half, and then ended that because so she went through a lot of the same traumas when she was a kid. Her father was abusive towards her and her siblings and mom. But the difference is I had all these outlets. Like I had theater, I had music. I just had all these positive outlets to get my mind off of the negativity and try to make my life positive. Yeah. And she didn't have that outlet. Yeah. And so so we were just arguing a lot, and it kind of like was just very reminiscent of like my past with my stepdad. And I was like, I can't do this. Yeah. So,
but great to acknowledge it and see it and say, this is what it is right now.
And I found myself like in situations where it's like I've done so much work on myself. Yeah. And of course, like I go to therapy and everything. Shout out to therapy. Hey-o. But she would just frustrate me in like such ways. So as an example, like we were arguing, she would just say, I hate you. And it's like, if you don't hate me, you shouldn't say that. Like if you hate me, like then like mean that so I can leave. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't be here. But
words matter.
Exactly. So it was just like a lot of just like stuff like that. And I would just find myself being almost like vindictive because she would say or do something. I'd be like, all right, fine. If you want to do that, I'm gonna be this way. Like let
me reflect your behavior back to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, I can't be doing this. Like I don't like this side of me. No. Because like I'm not I'm not a vindictive person, but like, what she was doing, and she knew I was very open and honest about like my past. I was very open and honest about how, hey, I mean, can we try not to trigger each other? Can we try not to can
we just be aware of each other's energy, right? Exactly. Can we just be aware of each other's experience and like move about gracefully? Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and relationships can get messy no matter what, because we all have certain triggers, but if it's time and time again, exactly, that's different.
So now when I'm on dating apps and everything, I've kind of like took like a semi break because I'm just, trying to like focus on like all the arts and stuff like that.
Projects.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. I've been hanging out with a couple people that I met on the dating apps, but again, like I kind of just been,
focus elsewhere.
Focus. Yeah. Like because that, and then, just trying to like figure out my California move and everything. So a lot going on, but I have taken all of like those experiences and like mindfulness and just trying to make sure that, hey, like whenever I'm interacting with somebody, I want to make sure that they feel validated. I want to make sure that they feel heard and listened to. And I just want them to know like, hey, if you're going through something or if there's something that you want to talk about, even though we're just getting to know each other. Like, this is a safe space. Like I get where you're coming from. Like or let's say I can't even imagine. Like I'd be like, okay, I haven't been through that experience, but I hear you. I want you to know, like, your opinions matter and your experiences matter. Like your experiences are valid. So that's how I try to take those, those core values and those core ideologies and try to, put that into practice in my own life.
So. And that's beautiful. And that's going to only bring you relationships, whether they are long lasting or they are short term. That's only going to bring relationships that are aligned and that are actually going to help you move toward your goals. Whether that person is for you in the long term or not, I'm repeating myself, but it's really that idea that that person is in your life for a reason, and it's in a healthy way. It can now be, even though you're just in my life for a moment, it's a healthy moment, and you've just put light on another part of my life that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't met you. Yeah, yeah. So Just remember that. Just remember that.
sure.
The more aligned space that you're in when you're going to meet somebody or starting to talk to somebody, that is only going to bring you more clarity for all of your stuff in a hopefully positive way. There's going to be some wild ones out there, but that also is meant to help you. It's meant to be a reflection.
Absolutely.
Show you what you still need to heal.
Yep.
Right? Yep.
Exactly. Practicing mindfulness and just everything that you've shared so far. I think what I'm getting as well as like the listeners, it's the importance of like self-love and how to treat yourself, how to love yourself and do the best that you can for yourself. Because if you're not, like example, like no one can advocate for you better than you can advocate for yourself.
Correct.
And on top of that, it's like, how can someone expect others to love them if they don't love themselves? Like,
yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I fully believe in everyone being a mirror to you. I think that, again, we attract the people that are meant to help us heal in this life, whether it's in a great positive way or it's a hard, hurtful way. And the idea of self-love is so popular right now. It's like such a hot topic. Like,
right. We
self-love is hot topic.
And
yeah.
the Instagram
but it is, it's so much deeper than treat yourself to a bath, or pour yourself a glass of wine at night. Like, no, like what is it that you need to give yourself that you feel like you're missing from somebody else? The idea that someone else is also going to complete you is a bunch of bullshit. It's not going to happen. At the end of the day, you're going to be searching and searching and searching. And so you got to get to the deep self-love of, I need validation about my art, let's say, right? Like I need validation for my art, that it's good, that I'm a good actor, dancer, singer. So who needs to give that to is you. And that is self-love. That is saying, looking at your work and saying, hell yeah, whatever I just did, that little run I just did, that little turn I just did, fucking phenomenal. That I took a lot of training to get myself to get to that point. I am so proud of myself. That kind of validation from yourself is going to then also make it so that you don't need it from other people, but it's still obviously so good to get it from other people, especially as an artist. But it makes it so that you're not living in this lack of affirmation. Because when you're living in a lack, you are searching for someone to affirm you. And that's not going to be a place of where you can connect on love. That's not going to create love, right? That's going to create attachment that is based on scarcity. And we don't want that. That's where relationships fail.
Yes.
Right? So just
say it louder for the people in the back.
Yeah. So the idea of knowing what you need from love and how you need to love yourself super deeply. Again, knowing love languages too is really important and fun. That's like also a fun thing that's out there. There's so many things for self-awareness out there. Astrology, Enneagrams, like Myers-Briggs, like there, like all of that is out there for you to question things about yourself, for you to find out what your love languages are and how can you give yourself those love languages. So I am like a huge physical touch person. And in moments when I'm not dating people or whatever, oh wait, I could get real crazy with this, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to go there. Like I am such like a hugger.
Yeah.
I will literally just hold myself for moments when I'm feeling and I'm missing and I'm feeling lonely. Like I will hold myself and it sounds silly willy, but it works, but it works wonders. It does. Just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I know that I need physical touch. I can do that for myself. Right. Or the idea of like spending quality time with someone. That's also a big one of mine. I can do that with myself. Something that's intentional, not just, I guess I'll throw on a movie. No, it's like, I'm going to take myself out to my favorite restaurant and get the best sushi and like not care what I'm spending. Like that is quality for me. And then I'm going to cozy up to my favorite book that I haven't read in months. Like giving yourself that kind of love later on when someone says, what do you like? you know exactly what you like. You know exactly how someone else can show you what you've already shown to yourself.
Ooh,
The
yes.
clarity that is there, it's so easy for a partner to love you because you have already done it for yourself. And now it just gets to be even more like exciting and easy because someone else is doing it for you. And you're like, wow, this is incredible. This feeling, let's do that more, you know, but you know that you're already self-sufficient and then you get to a place of being really healthy with someone because you don't need them, but them being there is an addition.
Yes.
You know, it's just such an addition to your life and your own love journey.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah, because the thing is, like, you know, if you're depending on somebody else for your happiness, like, yeah, you're just never going to have a happy life.
No, you're
because
never going to.
No one is you. Like, you are you.
Yeah.
You're the only unique you.
Correct. And they're also worried about that too. You know, like they're also trying to figure out their happiness. So like if you're depending on them and they're depending on everyone else, no one's ever going to be happy.
Right.
It's just a web of people searching for, you know?
Yeah.
So yep, we are. We are the only people who can really know, like you said, we're the best people to know how joyful we can be and what gets us there.
It's no secret that it's important to do the work on yourself and be the best version of yourself, because in turn, like your actions and like what you do, that affects like, you know, like your family, your friends, the people that are important in your life.
Right.
And also it's kind of like, you know, of course, every relationship, and like kind of like what we just touched upon earlier, every relationship has like its rough patches. Same thing with family and friends. I mean, no one's going to agree all the time.
Every time, no.
But yeah, like I guess it's just like, how can people find ways, you know, to use these techniques to overcome the obstacles, like in the familial and friend setting, and I guess just even like work settings, you know, like just how can we practice this in all other facets of life?
Yes. So it's so good because I think it's so much easier to work on yourself because it's only one person, right? It's easy to work through that energy because you know what you're bringing to the table, you know your emotions, you know that you can't yell at yourself. I mean, you can yell at yourself, but you're only hurting yourself, right?
Right.
So when we get other people involved and we come upon conflict, there is so much more energy that you have to use so that you revert back to your own practices, right? And I think the biggest one, I always go back to stillness.
Yeah.
Stillness and quiet. When you're in a room and things are getting chaotic, if you're in a room with a family member or you're with your significant other, whoever that is, and you're starting to fight and things are starting to elevate.
Yeah.
The idea of knowing that you need to find stillness and quiet for just a moment, I think is a really big one. I think advocating for yourself, saying, "Hold on, I need a moment," and you both have to be on the same page of that's okay. It's not rude, right? We both need a moment. Let's reconvene. Let's come back to this in 5 minutes. Like give it an actual timeline of, let me just take a moment to truly breathe and be still and be quiet.
Right.
I think because the only way that our nervous systems can regulate is if we breathe. And in those heightened environments, we're not breathing. If you actively think about your body in those environments, any kind of conflict, your body is like it's like shaking with anger. It's shaking with vibrations. Like your vibrational levels are all over the place.
Right.
And it's because your breath is also out of whack. Like there's nothing is controlled. Nothing is doing its regular homeostasis thing. So getting your body back to a place of home base is the most important thing you can do within those spaces. And I know that maybe sounds wild too within familial relationships, like with family. If things are getting crazy and you're the person who's like, I need a moment, maybe people don't understand that, right? And you also have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with people thinking you're a little weird or thinking like, they don't like conflict, they're walking away. You have to let that go because that's not true. And what you do need to practice though is taking the moment to be still and then coming back with new words.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have to come back. That's
right.
also the thing,
you
right?
Gotta come back
we
to the
can't run away.
Don't avoid it.
We can't run away. And
avoidance doesn't work.
Avoidance does not work. Yes. So get rid of that mindset and try your absolute best to lead with love instead of fear. I talk about that a bunch, just being led by love instead of fear. Think about kind of the worst case scenario that could possibly happen with that person. I go there sometimes. And not that you have to be feeling guilty or not feel your full emotions, because you need to feel your full emotions. But most of the time you should be doing that kind of on your own versus projecting and putting it on them.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's this idea of like, okay, feel your emotions and come back and like lead with love. Like, okay, I always go, okay, this is dramatic, but like I will like go to death. Like, what if this person died tomorrow, right? What would I have wished I would have said? And it doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, well, I just love you so much. It's, you hurt me so much just now. Like, or I use I statements, right? I just felt so hurt by those words because XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Here's my self-awareness. It's going to be on them whether they want to accept it or not. And that's then on you to decide, where does this relationship go?
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Do I continue to pour energy into someone who doesn't want to do any of the work with me? Or do I need to just release this? Even if it's for a moment, it doesn't have to be permanent, but do I release this for now because it's not serving me?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Breathing and stillness and removing yourself and trying to regulate your nervous system in whatever way makes sense for you. Talk to your therapist about that, because that's a big thing too right now.
Yeah. And and I think it's pretty cool that, especially within like our generation, we're seeing like a lot of people talk about mental health and talk about all of these important, I guess, like, mental, I guess, psyche things, because people didn't talk about mental health with like our parents' generation.
No.
Before. It was almost like
shameful.
Shameful.
Yeah.
And then especially in communities of colors, like, oh, you don't need therapy. Like, what? Like
1,000%.
So it's just like, I'm just glad that with the rise of like social media, technology, like we have so much access and information out there. And I'm glad that, our generation is taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so, so breathe, people, breathe. Today is a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or you just think it'll be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Hey, can I let you in a little secret? So I use Buzzsprout to host Situaseans podcast, and let me tell you, it has been the easiest tool I've ever come across for publishing and running a podcast. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. So come on, join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Follow the link in the show notes, and that'll let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. And guess what? That gets you $20 credit if you sign up for a paid plan, and overall, that helps support our show. Let's create something great together. So, I just want to say again, like, thank you so much for just dropping all of this, intellectual knowledge about, mindfulness and just self-love, meditation, like being within oneself.
Yeah.
I think the listeners are going to finding this so fucking valuable because, again, You know, like you all matter. Your words, your opinions, your thoughts, your life, everything about you matters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Every single thought you have is your thought for a reason.
There
right?
you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So with that, like, let's go ahead and jump right on into that listener submission. This listener submission, this one's kind of cool. Like a lot of you listeners will kind of resonate with this or kind of take away a little bit of something. So this listener submitted and said, what it's like to live in Chicago, pros and cons. All right. You know,
yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So, so I got like a couple of like, you know, like things that like I was thinking about as far as like, you know, pros of living in Chicago. I mean, like Chicago, we're such a great city, right?
It's a great city. It is a great city.
You know, so, you know, one of the things that like I really, you know, thought about was, okay, well, first and foremost, I mean, downtown. I mean, come on, the Sears Tower, the views. You know, Chicago is like one of the most like beautiful cities like in the country. Like there's just so much that, you know, you can do here. I mean, like, and like you're in the city a lot too, right? Like,
yeah, I'm here at least once a week. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and also, another thing too, I think is like, you know, like closer to like, you know, festivals, like popular museums, restaurants. I mean, that's just like, there's just so much stuff in the city to do. And like, I like am a huge sushi fucking like fanatic.
You love it. Just love sushi. Me too.
Like I get sushi at least once a week. It's quite sad. Like,
no, that's great. Why is that sad? That's abundant living right there.
Because that's where a lot of like
the
where
money goes.
My money goes.
Me too. I understand. I get it.
Yeah, and then you know you got like access to transportation, so CTA, like everything like that. Nightlife, like that's like always a good one.
Yeah.
And then you know you got like a lot of like young professionals like living in the city. You know,
a ton.
So, and with the amount of like revenue that like I guess Central Chicago brings, I forget like the exact number, but it's like you know like a fucking lot, like trillions.
Yeah.
Trillions or something like that. But with all that revenue, of course, people are going to be, you know, like traveling, commuting in from the city, in and out. So, and I think that's probably like one con is like the fucking traffic.
The traffic. Of big cities in general. It's just, I took a picture of it actually when I was on my way into the city. I was anticipating an hour, right, of a commute because usually I can get here in like 50 minutes from my house, which is in Aurora. Yeah. And it was an hour 35. And I was like, what? It was 40 minutes for 6 miles. It was after I got off the highway. Being in the city.
Yes, right.
It was a 40-minute, just cruise on down, slow as ever.
I saw this meme the other day. It said Chicago is the only city where it takes an hour. Like you're in Chicago, but it still takes an hour to travel within Chicago.
Correct.
I'm like, that's so fucking true.
And it's so funny because someone was just here. I was at a party over the weekend, and she was flying in from California, right, of all places, and people are always complaining about the traffic there. But she was like, I told her I couldn't make it back to the party because I was at somewhere else that night, and I was like, I'm going really far, not even that far, like 10 miles away from where I am right now. Yeah. And she was like, wait, Brenda, you can't make it tonight, even like still? And I said, no, girlfriend, it's going to take me 45 minutes to get to you. Like, I'm so sorry, but I can't make it back. She's like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me either, but this is Chicago traffic for you.
Right.
We're not that far, but we're so far all of a sudden.
Right. I mean, there's only 2 seasons in Chicago, winter and construction.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's wild.
So, yeah, I guess a pro of living in the city. And like, of course, you know, if like listeners, sorry if I'm jumping around, like giving pros and cons, but you know, that's what happens when you have a natural conversation.
Natural combos. They're good.
Right. We don't manufacture or like any artificial conversations here.
No.
Right? But yeah, I think, like choosing, like, I guess like the conveniency and like choosing places to go on like dates, especially for like the youngins out there. Like, like.
There's so much here.
Yeah.
There is. There's so much here. And again, to touch on the skyline, I do think Chicago has probably top 3 skylines.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe almost in the world. I think the Chicago skyline is absolutely stunning. To be on the water, that's special that we have such a huge lake also near us.
Oh, absolutely.
Accessible. Like, I don't even live here, but I pretend like I do. It's fine.
What's that thing with like people who like live in like the suburbs or
when they get asked where they're from? Oh, Chicago. But I'm here all the time.
Right, exactly.
If you ask any of my friends, I basically should pay their rent because I live with
it counts,
them.
right?
It
exactly. Shit. I'm in the suburbs at least like 2-3 times out of like a week. So
exactly.
I should just move out there.
We're all back and forth.
Yeah, so like some of the places in the city, as far as like going on dates and stuff like that, like I definitely like to choose different spots when I'm going on dates. And
absolutely, not go to the same one.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And me, I love planning. Oh my God, I'm a huge planner.
Good.
Like, I love coordinating.
Women appreciate that. Women want that.
And see, like me on like dating apps, like I like to, and like Patreon group, like if y'all want to see like my interactions on like the dating apps, subscribe. I will share those screenshots with you.
Woo! You get the exclusive content. I need to subscribe. I have a separate Instagram page for that. Oh, I do.
All right.
Secrets.
Right,
the secret's out. It's a private one. You can't follow it. Don't worry. Only for specific people.
Right.
It's good.
Love that. Yeah, like I'm kind of like I like to throw out options. Like, hey, cool. Here are like 3 or 4 places. Let me know if any of these like look good or sound good to you.
Love that.
Hey, I like this spot. All right, cool. Like, I'll get us a reservation. Boom, bing, bang, boom. So, I think, dating in the city is definitely, is nice.
It's super nice. And you do get to go to multiple places so that you're not bringing your every date to the same place.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Then the waiter's like, just imagine the waiter's like, okay, this person is here like all the time with a new person.
Well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel dating in the suburbs. It's like, oh, we're going to my favorite place. Well, it's because I feel safe there.
Yeah. It's important to feel safe. It's important to feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think, sporting events, a lot of, people like to tailgate in the city.
Sure.
So that's another
if you're into sports ball. if you're into that kind of thing.
Exactly. And then, there's a little bit of diversity within a lot of communities in Chicago.
1000%.
Yeah. And then, kind of segueing into the cons. Now, with that caveat of these different neighborhoods, unfortunately, Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in America, because this neighborhood, you have this certain group of people here. 10 blocks away, you have these group of people. Yeah. So I think that's probably one of the downsides to the city. But at the same time, don't get me wrong, those of you that aren't familiar with Chicago, even though there's certain subdivisions of different ethnic groups in certain areas, there are still people that live of other ethnicities that live in those areas. So it's not if you live in Wrigleyville, you can only be this group of people.
Correct. So. No, there is such diversity everywhere.
Yeah.
But we have such a diverse population that people tend to go where they're going to feel safe. And where do you feel safe? In places that people look like you, have your similar culture, right? It makes sense.
Absolutely.
But we wish it didn't have to be the case.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Exactly. And then, kind of just touching up on that, another downside, and especially for anyone that's familiar with Chicago, if you're on the South Side, there are certain areas on the South Side that are very dangerous. So Inglewood, I grew up in Inglewood, Chicago Lawn is that's right next to Inglewood. It's kind of like that. But then you have Chicago, South Side suburbs, Oak Lawn,
Correct,
Beverly, so not the entire South Side is oh, don't go down there because it's dangerous.
No.
It's kind of again, the South Side is kind of the same way. You got different people,
different pockets.
Yeah. So,
It's like any big city, though. I mean, I will always say this, especially having especially having traveled, seen Europe and seeing different places. Europe, I've seen the world. I've seen Europe. No, that's not true. Just seeing different places. Every big city has pockets of places that are going to be dangerous.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
whose fault is that? The government's.
Right? Exactly. Provide
Yes.
resources to underrepresented groups.
You would think.
Right? But hey, this is the world we live in. This is
Yeah.
America, right?
Yeah.
And then, the high cost of living in the city living that's another thing that really grinds my gears.
It grinds the gears. I will say the suburbs are not that much better anymore.
Really?
The suburbs are, I think it's not the same. It's not the same. But now there are pockets. I know people who have some places by themselves who have similar square footage as some of my friends who have apartments in the suburbs and stuff. And it is not that different anymore. And I have found some friends have more space here now than in some suburb new spots.
Wow.
Because they're building so many new things in the suburbs.
Yeah.
That they need money and they're expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's really not, there is still a difference, especially when you're going to when you're buying something in the city versus the suburbs. That is a big difference. But I think rent wise, it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
I will be bold in saying that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of shitty all around.
Right. We're all fucked.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. And me, like how I was just venting to you, right before we started, they raised my rent by $200.
Yeah.
Like last year they raised it by $50.
Like, what are they giving you?
Right?
Like, what are they doing for you?
Exactly. Like if y'all gonna raise my rent $200, can y'all expand my living room area at least?
Break a wall down, do something.
Give me a real balcony instead of this. What is this? This Juliet balcony?
Yes.
The faux balcony?
No. Damn.
And then, I think like these last couple ones is obviously it could be noisy in the city, and then, you got construction all the damn time, police sirens.
Woo, woo, woo.
Right. It's from living in the city, I can now tell the difference between a cop car, an ambulance, and a fire truck.
Yes.
I know the difference.
Yep. I don't. See? I don't live here. That makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, to the listener that submitted your question, I just want to say, wherever it is that you're living, whether it be in the city, in the suburbs, or maybe you live somewhere remote, you want to make sure that you're choosing a spot that resonates with you, especially, if you can afford it, right?
Yeah.
So, and then of course, kind of do your research, see what, the cost of living is in these certain places that you're looking into, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's important to kind of know what you're getting into, because the last thing you want is to end up in some spot and then you can't afford it. And now it's well, shit, now you got to start figuring, shit out, and now you got to upend your life. So
It is. It's a big deal. And I think my biggest reason for living in the suburbs is simply because the noise thing.
Yeah.
I super value, like I said, stillness, quietness, right? I super value my some stillness and some quietness in my environment.
Yeah.
So I definitely can find that more often in the suburbs. On top of most of my work being in the suburbs, that's what keeps me out there. But other than that, living in the city is such a fun energy.
It is.
It's such a fun energy. And I mean, I've spent multiple weeks, right, living in bigger cities, and it's just the things that you can do within walking distance. Yeah. That always is what I miss, because I live in the second biggest city in Illinois, Aurora, and we actually have a ton of stuff that is within walking distance.
Aurora's beautiful.
Aurora's stunning. Come out,
right?
Come hang out.
Exactly.
But Chicago is limitless. You could walk in any direction and stumble upon everything. You could walk from wherever you're at in the city to the lake, to the water somehow. Like there is just the opportunity to walk anywhere is really endless if you're into it.
Absolutely.
I also love my car rides though. My car rides are meditative. They're usually in silence. So
yeah, for sure.
Just saying. So I do love the commute. I won't complain about it.
I listen to podcasts whenever I'm going out to like the suburbs.
See? It's a great time to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
People who hate driving, I'm like, look, it's all good. It's all you, but you can make it pretty great. Pretty great for yourself.
Well, like I do have like one final question for the whole city living and suburb living. Like this one's kind of like, unorthodox, unplanned. So
let's see.
Like, tell me, I need you to debunk a theory that I have with all of my friends in the suburbs. So
tell me.
I'm always willing, and people that I know that live in the city, they're always willing to drive out to the suburbs. What is it about people in the suburbs not wanting to drive into the city?
Wait, that's bullshit. Because every man that and maybe it's just the men I'm attracting right now, but every man that I have met in the city refuses to drive out to the suburbs.
Really?
Yes. And I'm here all the time. I'm happy to come out to the city all the time. So that doesn't reflect my experience. So I don't know. I'm trying to think about people who I know in the suburbs.
And I think about like theater friends or like sometimes, or even just people I just somehow, or even people that I just like randomly connect with out in the suburbs. Being in the city, the streets are too narrow. There's nowhere to park. I got to pay to park.
People are
driving
so afraid.
Downtown. Yeah.
People are afraid to drive down here, which I think is more of a reflection on them than it is on the city. I mean, it is crazy driving, but you can find crazy drivers anywhere.
True.
But yeah, I think maybe that's a thing for them is they're so comfortable in their big wide open spaces, and anything less than that is daunting.
Right.
But I have found the opposite to be true.
Wow, you're lucky. All right.
I know. We need to start hanging out with opposite people.
Right, exactly. We'll exchange
groups
our
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, listener, for submitting that. And again, if you all have a question or a story or anything that you want to unpack on the show, remember, situationspodcast.com/submit. All right. So thank you so much. Brenda, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I really appreciate it. The amount of great conversation and discussion that we had today, I think, again, a lot of people are going to find this valuable. Yeah. So tell me, how can people find you? What are your socials? How can people link up with you and get on their wellness journey? Yes,
come join me on this journey through the clouds. Yeah, wow. It's not always rainbows and sunshine. And I want to also reiterate, this journey is a journey. It's a journey. It's not just an up, up, up. There's downs, there's highs, there's lows. But you can follow my highs and my lows at Brenda_Natalia_. That is on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok. TikTok is my I'm just kind of unhinged and I just kind of do whatever I want. Instagram is more curated for the mindfulness journey. But it's conscious_choreo_co on TikTok. You can search my website if anyone wants to work with me. If anyone wants to work with me,
please, with her.
Yes. Whether it's choreography, whether it is coaching, whether it is just a coffee, whatever you want to do.
Right. And she travels, so
I travel everywhere. So,
she's not limited to just Chicago.
No, oh my gosh, never. I have Zoom. We can Zoom. You can find me on consciouschoreo.com. So that's my website, and my email, my phone number, my work number is on there. Feel free, message me, email me, link up with me.
All right.
But you can find, all my links to everything on those pages.
Love it. And we'll drop those links down in the show notes and on the description. And if you're watching on YouTube, they'll be down in the video description. So yeah. And again, if you, everyone out there are 3 ways that you can submit your stories, your questions, anything. You can go to situationspodcast.com/submit, or if you want to email it, that's situationspod@gmail.com. Or if you want to call in and leave a voicemail. I'm trying to get people to leave a voicemail.
Yes, leave
right?
voice notes. Voice memos are the best.
Exactly. So you want to call 312-586-2664. Let it ring. It's it's a hotline number. Ain't nobody gonna pick up. You ain't gonna hear my ugly ass voice.
Your beautiful voice. Shut your mouth. Positivity, self-love.
Self-love, yes. Just let it ring, and then we'll play it live on the show, and I'll unpack it on the show. And then again, if you're at home, on a bus, on a train, on a plane, if you're, on your way to be working with Brenda, if you're on your way to her, one of her sessions, you can listen to this podcast and listen to her podcast.
Yes, do it.
And again, follow us on social media. You all know the drill. You know where to find the links. And for more exclusive content and all the screenshots, y'all know I shared that last screenshot with the person that ghosted, right?
Ooh.
I shared everything.
That's juicy.
So
don't
join
miss
the
it.
patreon.com/situationspodcast. And all right, so you know what? Again, rate, review, and subscribe on all of the podcast platforms. By rating and leaving a review, that helps other people find the podcast, right? Don't you
Correct.
isn't that a good way of finding out what's good and what's not by just looking at a rating of something?
Yes, it's so easy.
Yeah,
Yes.
So leave a 5-star review. And I will see you all back here for the next episode in a couple of weeks. Woo!
Woo, bye.